Hey everyone, Knowledge here, and I have one more tent that I'm adding to the mix of gear that I will be using on the trail in 2021. So I'm super excited to share this video with all of you. This tent is relatively new to the market, but the design is not. It's been tried and true over the years. It's become a very popular favorite amongst backpackers, thru hikers, and the ultralight backpacking community. So when I saw this tent come out with some recent upgrades, they appealed to me. What I found really intriguing was the packability of this tent, the lightweight, the material choices, and my experience with the material choices that were put into the design of this tent, and most of all, the simplicity. That tent is Gossamer Gear's, the DCF 1. I'm really excited about this tent. This is going to be just a first look video though. I have very limited use with it at the moment, but I do have a lot of trips coming up that I'm intending on using this tent on, and I look forward to sharing a lot more feedback with you on this tent as I have more usage with it. So in this video, we'll go over the specs, we'll go over the setup, I'll show you the livable space of the tent, give you a closer look, and I'll share some of my initial impressions of this tent. So let's get started with the specs. This tent weighs 15.3 ounces for just the tent on my scale. Impressively light. It is a one-person shelter and it does need trekking poles to set up, but still, this is incredibly light. Very close in weight to Z-Pack's Plexamid, which was another tent that I was considering. The total package weight of this tent with everything that's included weighs in at 18.3 ounces on my scale. Still a very lightweight tent. One of the specs that I was really excited about with this tent are the material choices. So this tent is using a 0.51 ounce per square yard Dyneema composite fabric for the rainfly, and with the floor it is using a 7 denier sil nylon fabric. If you've seen other videos on this channel, you're fully aware of how much of a fan I am of Dyneema composite fabric. I love the strength that you get with the material. I love the waterproofness, and what's really nice is the fact that this fabric does not sag when it gets wet on rainy nights out. But one of the drawbacks of Dyneema is the packability. The fact that Gossamer Gear decided to go with a 7 denier sil nylon fabric for the bathtub floor of the tent, I feel is brilliant. This is extremely small compared to the REI Flash Air 1 tent and the Six Moon Designs Lunar Solo. And I can even compress this down even more if I wanted to. But with these fabric choices, you are also getting a delicate tent. So you have to be very careful with it. It's good to maintain it to get the longest lifespan out of the material. This is something that I am going to be very conscious of when I'm out on the trail. I'm going to be very careful with my campsite selection, but I am also equally excited to be able to see how it performs and how well it holds up over time. So with this tent, I am going to be using a footprint, and for that, I'll be using a polycro sheet. I've been using these for a lot of my lightweight tents, my bivvy setups and tarp setups, and they work really well. They're nice and light, they're cost effective, and they're also very easy to find. So this is going to protect the 7 denier floor of my tent. Here in the Northeast, we get lots of roots and rocks. There's no shortage of them, so I want to make sure that my floor is protected. With the fabric choices of this tent, the price is also going to be pretty high. Total cost for this tent is $539. So it might not be a tent that everybody is going to be looking for. If you want something something a little bit lower in cost and you end up liking the design that I'm going to show you, for a couple of ounces more in weight, you can get the Gossamer Gear, the One tent, which has a similar floor plan and profile, but that tent weighs 17.7 ounces and costs $299. As someone who's out a lot throughout the year, the cost is worth it to me. As with this tent and everything else in my other videos, I am not sponsored in any way. I pay for all of this gear out of my own money. Honesty and authenticity are things I always strive for with this channel, and providing field-tested feedback from my experiences with using these products. So let's set up this tent and I'll give you a closer look. So before I set this tent up, these are the other items that you get with the tent. So you're getting 6 DAC stakes. These weigh about 10 grams each, and they're very similar to MSR's mini groundhogs. You get some clothesline and guy line, and you get a Dyneema composite fabric patch. Now, all you need to set up the tent are 6 stakes minimum, which are provided already. But Gossamer Gear recommends that you get some slightly bigger stakes to tie out the ridge line. So for that, I have some Toaks titanium stakes that I purchased from Gossamer Gear's website along with the tent. You get 6 of them, and all 6 weigh 3.5 ounces on my scale. So with the 4 corners of the tent and the 2 for the ridge line, that's going to equal my 6, which I'm going to end up using all of these for that. And then there are 4 corners of the bathtub of the tent that do kind of elevate up with the tent completely set up. There are loops on all 4 corners, so I'm going to be using 4 of the Gossamer Gear DAC stakes that are provided when you buy the tent. Alright, so starting out, I'm going to be staking out the 4 corners of the tent. Then we have 2 little cups at the top of the tent, one for the door and one for the back of the tent. I'm going to prop the tent up with the trekking poles and then stake out the guy line. So here's that cup. Just going to put the grip in there. And then there's a grommet down at the bottom right here. And we're just going to put that inside of the grommet. And same with the front. Then, next to the trekking poles, we have 2 loops with some toggles. Just gonna pull that through, cinch that down, and same with the other side. You can see what I mean about the floor floating a little bit. You could leave it like this. This does have all 6 of them set up now, so the tent is fully set up. But I want to pull these out and stake them and have as much room inside of the tent as possible. So to do that, I'm going to use these stakes also. All right, we're just going to adjust the tension. So this tent uses a number 3 zipper, but it is completely waterproof. with the vestibule. Really nice buckle here, so I can unbuckle it and roll both doors up and get maximum airflow in and out through the tent. And I'll show you that in just a moment. Another really nice feature of this tent is the awning and mesh at the top. So I anticipate getting really good airflow through this tent at the top here, and also on the other side where it's complete mesh with the door. A lot of single wall tents tend to have this fabric completely up along the whole back of the tent. So I feel that this design is brilliant, and we'll see how it performs. The outer fabric is pretty much translucent. That's what you're going to get with Dyneema composite fabric that is that thin and light in weight. So it might not appeal to some, but I really like it. All right, so I'm now going to roll both of the doors back, give you a good view inside. And I'm going to show you the amount of livable space that I have with the tent. Put tension on that again. So another really nice feature of this tent that I like, that the pole is away from the door. We have a really nice J-style door here. Plenty of room to get in and out of the tent, but having the pole off to the side and nice and secure with those toggles and loops is going to keep the walls of the tent off of me, but also just having the structure away so I can get in and out of the tent really easy. I'm going to show you how much room you truly do have in this tent. To start off, I have the Gossamer Gear Thin Light 1/8 inch pad. This is always with me. I use it for my frameless hip beltless packs as additional cushion and structure. I use this as a sit pad for breaks. If I want to take a short nap on the side of the trail during the day, I'll lay this out and just have a nice clean surface to take a nap on. And I also use this as part of my sleep system at night. With the floor being a sil nylon fabric, you're going to get a lot of sliding around with your sleeping pad if you don't have flat ground, of course, but also some type of friction. So you can certainly paint dots along the floor of the tent using a silicone seam grip, or on your sleeping pad you can use just regular seam grip. I've used both in the past with various tents and sleeping pads, but with having this Gossamer Gear Thin Light pad or just a closed cell foam pad in general, my pad is less likely to slide around. I'm also increasing the R value of my sleep system a little bit with the pad, but also, most importantly for me, it gives my pad additional protection as well. All right, I'm cutting corners here. You've all seen this in one of my more recent videos. I've actually been enjoying this luxury item, and this is the Thermarest Neo Air Micro Pump. I'm going to let this do the work of inflating the Uberlight, and I'll go over the dimensions with you while this is inflating the pad. So with this tent, the dimensions are going to be 81 inches long, 33 inches at the head, and a taper of 21 inches at the feet. My sleeping pad that I'm inflating right now is the Thermarest Uberlight regular wide, so it's a 25-inch wide pad at 72 inches long. If you're a taller guy or gal compared to myself, I'm 5'10". You might want to consider going with the regular Gossamer Gear, the one, which is 84 inches long, and you still get the same width for the head and foot. Or if you can find one of the older versions of the tent, the 2020 version, I believe that length of that tent was 88 inches. All right, the pad is all set. Just going to top it off with a couple breaths of air. And this is the Enlightened Equipment Enigma 30-degree quilt. Slightly different from my Enlightened Equipment Revelation 20-degree quilt and my pillow. All right, so I have tons of room inside of this tent. Plenty of room. There's a little pocket down at the bottom here, so I can put my luxury item in there, my headlamp in there, any other smaller items that I want. Lots of room laying down. There's also tons of vestibule space under the tent. I have my Waymark Gear Company mile here, my footwear and a few other things. Along with the vestibule space, I can also reach from the tent open everything up if I wanted to, which is really nice. It's been difficult for me to do that with some of my tents, so that's a feature that I'm really going to enjoy, especially when it starts to rain on some of my trips. Just having the ability of not getting out of the tent and closing this up is going to be so nice. And here's a aerial view of the sleeping pad, just to give you an idea of the amount of space that you have on each side. The headroom, the foot box, so to give you an idea of the room in here. All right, everyone, there you have it. So a first look at Gossamer Gear's the DCF 1. I'm really excited to put this tent through the ringer this year and seeing how it holds up over time. So my initial impressions, let's start with the advantages. So packability, incredibly small, something that appeals to me. Also the lightweight at 15.3 ounces on my scale for this tent. I'm looking at just a little over a pound with everything included. Really looking forward to seeing how the ventilation works with this tent in very humid nights that I'm out, or stormy nights where I might need the vestibule closed all the way down. It is nice that I can have a little bit of a peak shelf right here to keep rain from coming completely down into the tent. The trekking poles pulling everything away, allowing dew and everything to kind of drip and stay off of me inside of the tent. So that's something that I feel is an advantage and something that I look forward to experiencing with this tent, seeing how it works. The airflow is something that I feel is going to be advantageous with this tent, having the whole outer door area being all mesh, the mesh panel at the foot and head of the tent, but also having that big mesh panel in the back of the tent is going to help with airflow a lot. And that's the most important thing with condensation management with a single wall tent. With the Dyneema fabric also, you want to have superior condensation management with allowing airflow in and out of the tent. The increased headroom is also going to help me out a lot with that. I have tons of headroom at 5'10", so that's something that I'm really looking forward to having too, the livable space inside of there. Smaller footprint is going to be great, so I won't need to find really spacious campsites. I can set up in really small areas like my bivvies that I showed you recently in some of my videos. But with those rainstorms, having all of that livable space is going to be really nice with waiting them out if I need to. As you know, with all of my packs and tents that I've featured on this channel, I really like Dyneema composite fabric. Having the benefits of the fabric are going to be advantages for me as well. The floor material I'm definitely going to be cautious with, and I do have some sil nylon patches that I'm going to be carrying with me in the event that I do end up getting a puncture with the fabric. But as long as I'm careful with it, I don't see there being any major issue with it. And it's giving me the benefit of a more impackable tent. Simplicity is there, some really nice features. One thing that I might consider with this tent going forward is to have some tie-outs on the head end and the foot end of the tent. That's something that Gossamer Gear, the one tent has, the one with the 10 denier sil nylon. So I have ordered some stick-on patches from Z-Packs with the loops sewn in already, and some reinforcement patches. That might be a project that I'll consider down the line in adding those to the sides of this tent, just to pull it out a little bit more, have a little more headroom and foot room. I still had it at 5'10", but just having that little extra amount of space could be beneficial. Another thing is the bag. So this bag is really long and narrow and difficult to get the tent into. So I'm going to be using a Dyneema composite fabric bag that's just a little bit wider and allows me to stuff the tent in a lot easier. So those are my initial impressions. Overall, I'm really happy. Look forward to using this tent a lot on the trail this year. Coming up, I have a trip on the AT where I'm planning on bringing this, and I also have another mini through hike on a short long distance trail coming up. So check back to the channel for that, because I will be documenting that trip. I hope you found this video helpful and being able to see things a little bit more up close. Have you also purchased this tent, or have you used the original Gossamer Gear, the one tent? If you have, leave your experience in a comment below, and I'd love to hear what all of you have to say. If you have any questions on this tent or anything else in my videos, feel free to get in touch with me as well in a comment, or you can contact me at reachyoursummit.net. If you like this video, hit the like button and consider subscribing to this channel to see that mini through hike coming up and all other videos that I add to this channel. I greatly appreciate all of you watching. This is Knowledge signing out, and until the next one, see you on the trail.